Awesome.
All right, check.
Good.
All right.
Welcome to Never Knew, presented by Never Come Home. We're diving into the deep minds and talents of your future favorite artists. Today, I'm so happy to be here with Reg Mason. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. The MTA sucks,
Yeah, bro.
but we here.
We've been trying to bring him down for a minute, but police they're trying harder. That's okay. We shall overcome. Happy Black History Month.
Amen.
How's it going, man? How's everything since Test Drive? Like this is the latest album you put out, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's been going. I feel like the reception, like from what I've been seeing, like it's so uplifting to see. First of all, to see somebody so dedicated to the process. Like I feel like I haven't seen a lot like up front, up close, like of people just like here I'm having this, come out to this, here's bam 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 bam. So can you tell me a little bit about because we were just now talking about the struggle of you like 4 a.m. like
It's been really nice to see the warm reception that people have been having to the record, because being from Jersey, especially like a town as diverse yet kind of like a comfortable bubble as Union, it's really easy to get trapped into that comfort, like that dome. So a lot of that energy that was put into like getting this record out there to the people really just came from just trying to just lead by example of it's okay to be dedicated and like basically just like open as possible about what it takes to make something that's your own unique take. So it's been really nice seeing people be so warm to it. And I don't really stick around too long on like the whole like, oh yes, I need more. Like I don't really feel like I really need much of the validation. I just like doing it and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, oh yeah, thank you everybody, and then I'll just on to like the next like 3-4 projects that I have. That's what keeps me moving.
Are you the kind of person that does that has like 3 or 4 projects going at the same time?
Always. Always. This is actually, Test Drive was the first time. I've been making music for roughly 10 years now. Test Drive was the very first time that it was the one and only thing that I was doing.
Really?
Yeah. And even then, like, I still had little side quests here and there, but this was like my main priority. I'm very used to making like 3 records at the same time for like different projects. So it was really nice to just like, fulfill all of my obligations and then have this be my main squeeze for a little bit,
Yeah. It's cool to see, I wanted to ask you too about specifically with Test Drive. I remember coming to the listening party at Tunes.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because you had you kind of stressed you were so grateful and to see you be so grateful with your community and that outreach of fans and the people who actually show up. But one thing I wanted to ask you about was how important is it for you to have a bond with the people you're making, especially Kurt. You talked about the production and your guys' collaboration. So how important is it for you to have that? Because it's also so technical sometimes. You know what I mean? So having that other person that can kind of balance out that I guess creativity with that technical aspect
it's
of
the
it.
workload of it all.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been really nice because for a long time I felt like everything that I've done leading up to this has been all the roles that I've had to don on myself has been by out of sheer necessity. Even if I was reluctant to do it, it was kind of if I don't do this isn't going to exist.
Wow.
So it's been really nice not having to operate in sort of that scarcity mindset where it's just like making art for me for a long time has felt like survival. So I'm always used to like that whole like, well, it's either I'm doing everything or this is not coming out. Like, and not even on some like getting in my own head. Like that's literally how it was. Like I wasn't touching YouTube beats. I wanted to have like my own production. I didn't know that many people other than my brother, and Kurt still wasn't actively making music for like a really long time until very recently.
Wow.
So like even like me and Kurt's relationship as like creative partners is like in the grand scheme very new. Like
really?
Yeah, we've only been making music actively together for like 2-3 years and stuff. And I've been making music for a solid, like being an active like musician, like putting stuff out for like 10.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's pretty new in the grand scheme of things, but it is so fucking nice. He is like an amazing, like he listens very well. We have very, like we come from different backgrounds in terms of like our musical backgrounds, but our taste is like, it's off enough that we'll have something interesting to introduce to one another, like every single time, but it's similar enough that we can trust each other's eyes and trust each other's ears on what looks and sounds cool. So it's very like, it's awesome. It's honestly like a relationship where it's like we did a couple tracks and then fucked off for like 2-3 months, like doing like our own thing. And then like I asked him to like play organs on a specific song of mine, the Mad at You interlude off of my EP Speedway. And then like and then we just hit it off from there. And then I just kept bringing him around everyone until eventually, like, it's very rare that I go somewhere and he's like not with me and stuff like that. Like even this right now, like it's kind of like, where's Kurt? Where is he at? But nah, it's like he's awesome in every single way. He's very imaginative with how like he's able to like craft like a whole world in just like a few short chops and everything. And even outside of like sampling, like, which is the style that like we've lent ourselves to for this album, he's a really gifted like on the keys. Like he's a really gifted like pianist and stuff. So he's just sick. Like true blessing, like having him in this space for us to like make records together. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool because you guys have like, I felt like I was re-listening over to like, I was brushing up on your catalog again, and I was checking up on like, I was listening to Test Drive, and it feels like you guys like crafted such a nice, like, I say nice like it's dainty, but like
no, it's good.
Like
it's
nice, like such a satisfying like story. Like you guys have like a really nice, like solid command, like over like where you want where you want shit to go. You know what I mean? Like, so one thing I wanted to ask you too is like, I feel like you've kind of dipped into so many different kinds of like art, like in mediums, and also like I'm just so like, I get so shocked like every time I see you like playing the bass like in the band. I'm like, oh damn, that nigga does do that. Like, like how does that have an influence on like this sort of style of music for you, or does that kind of like, is it like an elastic, like it's just like an elasticity of like what type of like, you know?
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's all me. Like it's just like, I feel like before I really took an active interest in like the hip hop space, like I wanted to be in a band as far back as I could remember. And then I kind of started doing hip hop to kind of like get closer to that dream, because I wasn't gonna wait around on like some other kid that like goes to the same school as me or whatever to like make my dream a reality, you know? So I was like, all right, I'm gonna just be my own band. And like, that's kind of like the idea that I donned on it. That's why like, if I don't know if like people really notice, like I don't really like super duper post on like my Instagram feed like all too often, because I'm kind of like just too busy like crafting like new stuff. But I feel like the thing that kind of like separates a little bit of what we do as opposed to like your average everyday like TikTok slaver or whatever is that like we don't just like drop the thing and then like take a step back. We'll like almost like come up with these time periods where we're just like we just put so much emphasis on like just pouring into this thing, and then we'll be like, okay, for like a month and a half, this is what we're all about.
Yeah.
That way, it's like we can get as much as we can out of it. Kind of like what Tyler said about like, yo, like you don't just drop something like that week of, and then by the tail end of that week, just forget about it. Like you keep pouring into it and stuff. So yeah, we just come up with these periods, like me, Kurt, and like whoever it is that I'm working with, where I'm like, hey, so this is what we're all gonna be about. I know we all have lives, so it's like this is what we're gonna all be about for like this extended period of time, and then we can circle back or we can keep moving forward. But regardless of what's going on, like I want to make sure that it's gotten that fair amount of attention and like so that the plant could grow. You know, I want to soil it correctly.
Because you don't want to like, I feel like you wouldn't want to plant something and just kind of like, nah, I'm not really feeling it. Like, it doesn't give it justice to, like, I think even your own artistry, you know what I mean? Because I think when ideas come, they don't come from nowhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they come from your experiences, like, from within you. And so I think it's, like, doing them justice is doing yourself justice in a way.
Yeah,
you know? Absolutely.
But I know I kind of trailed off a little bit, but to answer your question,
it's essentially good.
Essentially, like I feel I have like a wide spectrum of stuff that I can do and I can engage in, and whatever it is that I do, I just think about like if I were to like if like one of the worst things, if the apocalypse was to happen or whatever, like did I present myself authentically enough to where like I'm comfortable with like people having like perceiving it in any way that they want to, while simultaneously like did I deliver like something that like kind of like has some oomph to it, you know? Because I also don't really like the idea of like I feel like this can get really tangled really quickly, so I'm gonna try and like word it properly. But I am not like the hugest fan of like slaving away over like the short form content stuff. Yeah. But at the same time, I love shit posting. Yeah. So it's like a weird so it's a weird like sort of like fine line to work out where it's like, okay, I have a single coming out. Let me chill out for like 4 weeks or whatever so that I can like get that off. Yeah. And then be like, okay, is the coast clear? It's been like a month. All right, back to the shit posting. Yeah. So it's like a little bit of both, but
what is that like? Like what is it like balancing, I guess, like trying to be just like an artist instead of like I guess social media artist, cuz like it takes so much sometimes. Like the previous artist we had in here made a good point. He was like, I feel like I have to make like 7 different music videos for if I'm doing like short form content.
Yeah. I just don't adhere to it. I just choose not to bow to it. I would much rather make like a really great like one music video and just chop up mad different clips of that, or like get some behind the scenes stuff and just operate it in that way, other than do the typical, and not kicking anybody in the back who does this, because everybody has their own way of getting their stuff out there. And, you know, marketing your stuff is probably the most important thing after like delivering the product. But I'm just not really a great like guy unless it's like ironic and it's like I know that I'm being funny and it's coming from like I'm trying to be funny, but I'm not gonna like, I think the thought of like blending that in with like a song like Fearful, while I'm talking about like all these intrusive thoughts and like, oh my gosh, am I gonna be successful before the fucking world ends or some shit like that? Yeah, that just seems very like just not like, that's not harmonious with how I want to present myself as an artist.
Yeah.
But I also have the capacity to be a goofball too. So it's like it essentially comes down to time and place, you know. It's just like, all right, I'm in album mode, or I'm rolling out this single. Let me just chill out for like a month. And then when the coast is clear, then I can do that again. And then a lot of times, more often than not, when I do shit posts, people will see that and then they'll be like, oh, comedian guy. And then they go to the feed and it's nothing like that. Like, at all.
I think that's interesting though. Like to me, like I can't speak, you know, for most people, I guess, but it's so interesting. Like I think seeing like that duality of personality, but also that like, kind of you can do both, but I think it's cool because I think your stuff kind of speaks for itself, you know what I mean? And so it's interesting to see you like this is me but also but also like when people go to check out your shit, like it's like it's so intentional and it's so like cared after, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably what I gotta say, like, I don't know. I think that's what in my brain, I try to do to like separate myself from the pack, because it's very easy to like see that and then like you tap in and the whole page is just like like duck face shit or whatever. And I feel like you get caught up in the spider web that a lot of artists who really just want people to hear their shit get caught up in, where the duck face comes before and precedes the music video that the duck face is promoting. Right. I'm like, when it comes down to it, like the art is always at the forefront and the jokes and shit is just like secondary, and it's all to like showcase my personality. And I also don't take social media that serious anyway. Yeah. So it's like, I feel like even people, they'll like overthink like, oh my gosh, is this joke gonna hit? Because if I don't hit it right, then the metrics won't come in and it won't affect like, and I won't get my shit out there. A long time ago, I kind of just threw my hands up at it. It was just like, I don't care. Like, it does like that shit just doesn't matter to me, which kind of like speaks to like my punk isms anyway, where it's just like anti-establishment, very like, no, you're stepping into my world. I don't give a fuck what perceptions you're coming in with, you know?
Right. So I want to go back a little bit, because you did, you talked about separating yourself from like, you know, the crowd, I guess, if you will. But what are some, because I'm also just some of these, you know, like we're here to ask, but some of like it's so cool to pick your brain about it. But like, what are some artists that have influenced you, like that really like you've seen and you were like, oh shit, like you can do this, you know what I mean?
Well, one of the biggest ones that, especially like during my time when I was beginning to transition into becoming an active artist, I always shout them out. Injury Reserve from Arizona. They don't go by that anymore. They changed their name to By Storm, which is like a whole story behind it. But Injury Reserve was a trio from Arizona. They're like an alternative hip hop, kind of like experimental leaning group, and they were an anomaly because they could balance like doing like really weird indie Pitchfork-esque leaning shit, but then like the production was very experimental and weird, but then the rapping put on top of it was like Little Brother clips, like really like traditional leaning shit. And just seeing how they presented themselves as artists, they were very like, social media was like the last thing that they paid attention to. Type shit. So they would just like make a kick-ass record, kick-ass video. They would have everything all together. Like there was no like snippets that they would put up or anything. Everything was very intentional. Like if you ever seen them posting anything, there was a very specific reason for it. So it's like Monday, they'd be like, hey, you haven't seen us in 9 months. Song out on Wednesday, video out on Friday, or something like that, you know? And then they would roll that out, and then you wouldn't see them for another like 2 months
Yeah.
or 6 months. So I really appreciated like there was no. I think something about them that I definitely took on with my own music and how I presented it was there was no fluff. The communication was so straightforward. It was very like, you are not going to see me unless I have something to say.
Wow.
So, and there was like no artist that I've seen personally that kind of operated like that.
Yeah.
And even the artists that are like, I mean, I'm sure there's a few that you could probably name off the top of your head where it's like the mysterious thing kind of became just like another way to market themselves. And there's like a bunch of lore behind it, but it's like with a group like Injury Reserve, there's no lore. It's very like no fluff. Like even like Tyler too. Like when you don't really hear from him like unless there's like something, at least when he's rolling out a record, like he's very efficient and the communication is, there's no room left for anything to be misconstrued.
Yeah.
There's no snippets or anything. So I just really pride myself on being extremely straightforward and like talking about music when it's done. Like I don't do the whole like, oh, I'm in the studio, or I don't show my gear. I don't show me like, even when we're like doing video shoots or something like that, like I don't really show off like too much of what's going on, because the most important thing is like you can do all of that and then what you put out could suck.
Right.
It'd be the worst thing in the world. So
right.
you got all these people hyped up for something that didn't even translate or connect.
Right.
So at the end of the day, for me, as long as it translates and connect, and I know that I put my back into making sure that that happened, everything else is just secondary to me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I pride myself in, you know, pushing myself out there and presenting myself to people.
Yeah. What is it that like, what is it that you want like your audience to feel from your music? Like, I feel like that's such a, I feel like you've, when I listen to Test Drive and even like going back and like some of your singles and like Speedway, like you have like this ability to kind of track through different sort of like emotions, but also like emotions that may not belong together sometimes, or you feel like they don't, but you know. So what is it that you want to like imbue your audience with, if you will?
That's a great question. I think I really just want my audience and whoever's just passing through to like listen to me, to just feel just a sense of just like raw human emotion and how complicating that can be. You know, like even like down to the juxtapositions on like a song like Stay. Like that song is very much not a love song.
Yeah.
But all the ingredients gives it love song. There's melodies, there's keys and chords, there's a nicely sung hook with like a boyish vocal timbre and tone and stuff. But the song is about me actively like questioning a relationship to follow my first love, which is music.
Wow.
So it's not even like, you know, like it's weird. Like I think I just like writing songs that really makes people not like uncomfortable, but just I want to get to the stuff in between in between the lines. Like almost like, I think the only way I can really explain it is like, I don't want to do either 1 or 2. I want to do 1.3, 1.7, like stuff in between that. That like capturing those moments in between like extremes. I think that's what I want them to feel. Just like the full range of all those weird emotions and what that can be like.
Yes. That's so interesting that you brought up Stay, because I was listening to it yesterday and it's one of my favorite, because it just stays in your brain. Like
Yeah.
it has, like you said, those elements of a love song, but like even in the opening, "Stay With Me and More," like you did a number with my number, I deleted yours. I was ruminating on that for a minute, and I was like, wait, holy shit! Like just opening up with that like is really interesting to think about, like, and just to sit on. Like I feel like your music is something to really like sit on.
Thank you. Yeah.
One, how do you cultivate like your artistry, and like how do you, like, what do you do for yourself, or how do you put yourself kind of in these spaces to be open to like these because also that's hard in of itself, like, you know.
Yeah, really difficult to do.
So yeah,
sure.
man, like to sit, like I think one, to sit in some of these emotions that you write about, but also to craft them in a way that's like digestible for other people, and like say, you know, this is what I mean, this is how I feel about what I'm feeling, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
so how do you do that? Like how do you cultivate that?
It's honestly, I have the capacity to be like really obsessive over my art, which I don't think can always translate due to like how aloof I am, like in terms of like showing my process on social media. But I swear, like behind closed doors, like until the record's out or the song is finished, eat, sleep, shit, this is what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like a way that I cultivate, at least with Test Drive was probably the most aggressive and like the most prepped that I feel like I've had to be for a project. Because essentially, like if we want to get down to like the mental space of it all, a lot of things that we do, like we release a lot of dopamine when we're experiencing or doing the thing that we want. And I think a lot of that comes from just us being in alignment with what it is that we want to do. So like if you feel like in your heart you want to be the world's greatest guitarist or whatever, it's like then you're not gonna get the same rush like playing the drums as you are learning some chords on a guitar.
Yeah.
But I also feel like at least getting prepped to do Test Drive in the months that once I realized I was making a record, I had to basically change my entire environment and set it so that I can only engage in stuff that gives me something back.
Wow.
So I wasn't eating junk food. I was working out like crazy, doing like 50 to 100 push-ups a day, 100 sit-ups a day. Like I knew, like I saw that what the end process was, and I saw that where I was, and I saw the person that I would have to be in order to make this real.
Yeah.
So I kind of pretended like I was getting ready for like a superhero movie, essentially.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. So I like worked out like crazy, cut out like beef and pork and shit like that, and only engaged in like went on like huge social media cleanses is what I call them, so that I wasn't introducing any energy that gave me even the slightest hint or the slightest hint of doubt that what I was doing was like meaningless or like took me away from that.
Yeah.
So I essentially just threw out anything that wasn't constructive, threw out all the destructive stuff, and made way for the constructive stuff. And it changed my life because I've been making records forever, but with Test Drive, I knew that this was like a reintroduction in a lot of ways. It's like grown Reg and stuff. So yeah. And also I was constantly playing concert films, concert videos. There's this guy named Hate56, and he just, his whole thing, he's like a video archivist. He just films a bunch of bands, like particularly in like the hardcore punk scene.
Yeah.
And he just posts a shit ton of their videos, a shit ton of their live performances. And I'll just have them playing on mute alongside like a bunch of music videos of very niche bands that I love, so that like even when I'm not looking at my computer, if I daydream, if I'm like looking at my television behind me, I'm seeing a bunch of people in alignment doing what they want and seeing a bunch of other people that's completely in alignment with what they want only snaps me back to showing gratitude and like, wow, I get to do this.
Yeah.
Let me keep like doing it. I don't think I'd have the same effect if I was making a record or like drawing up a beat on Ableton on my computer.
Yeah.
And then I turn around and it's like, I don't know, like Bad Girls Club.
Right.
Like the Shade Room or something like that. So I went through like intensive, just like rewiring of like my entire environment and brain so that I can only engage in stuff that brought me closer to being aligned with this record and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it changed my whole life.
Wow. It's like, what's a piece of advice like for you that you would give like young aspiring musicians that might be in your spot, that might be, you know, just wanting to be like an artist and get like involved in that space and have their kind of, you know, like vulnerable music shit out there? Like, what would you say to them?
I have two things. One, limits often breed creativity. A lot of times the thing that we think is holding us back, honestly, are like our superpowers. So like you look at somebody like Jack White from the White Stripes, and that was a 2-person band where it was just like a guitarist and a drummer. And they were able to make some of the most dynamic shit in the world because they only had 2 sets of hands, 2 people, 2 brains. And I don't think you're necessarily going to get the same feel as like somebody who's like has the highest budget 10-person group or whatever the hell. But it's like all that to say that like limits often breed creativity. So just get really good at working with what you got so that you always have your fundamentals as opposed to getting obsessed with like the newest piece of gear. You spend a bunch of bread that you might not be able to afford on it, and you don't even know. Like, it's like don't try to get so fast to get to step 10 before knowing step 1 through 9.
Wow.
And stuff. Like step 1 through 9 is everything, you know. So get good with the fundamentals. Don't stop comparing yourself. Comparison is the thief of joy. Getting to allowing your worth to be defined by external pressures is only going to take you backwards. Now, if you're a competitive person, that's sick. But it's like if you don't have like a strong sense of self and you kind of base your self-worth on like what somebody who has a completely different background, completely different circumstances, budgets, all this, you're never gonna get off the ground. So stop comparing yourself. Limits often breed creativity, so learn your fundamentals and work with what you got, and you'll be completely fine.
Wow. Just before I get to my last question, can you rank your favorite cheeses?
I
thought this? I needed to get this from you in person.
All right, top 3 cheeses. Number 1.
You're starting from 1. You better start from 3.
3? I didn't think. You know, you're right. All right. So number 3, I really like Colby Jack. I like the pattern a lot.
Visually, you like Colby Jack.
Honestly, it has nothing to do with the taste. I just like how the shit look.
Okay.
You know? Number 2. Pepper Jack. It's fan favorite
one, yeah.
Very, very popular. Some people that I know aren't. Yeah, some people talking shit. And you know? Oh, okay. A lot of people would say brie and smoked Gouda and stuff like that, but it's like I can't eat that with absolutely everything. But I think to round it all off, number 1. Damn, I gotta think hard about this. I'm basic. Cheddar. Sharp cheddar. I'm
classic.
basic. I'm super duper basic. But honorable mention, smoked Gouda is amazing.
Wow.
Smoked Gouda is great. And the best, like when you have it with some fruit or whatever.
Yeah.
Chilling. But yeah.
I like to mention brie is personally one of my favorites. I like the smoked brie. But can you put us onto an artist we should feature here?
An artist that you should feature here. There's a good amount that's like brewing up in my brain right now. But if there's anyone that I could personally say that I've been working with lately that you should feature here, B. Their name is spelled like the number 3 E. They just released an EP called Listen, and they're like they're an R&B and soul artist from Dallas, Texas, but they're based up in New York.
Wow.
Super sick. Like
Yeah.
they produce their own stuff. Really talented, really gifted artists. And we're gonna do some shit soon too.
Nice.
Yes, but I was literally just with them yesterday. B for sure. You should get them on
Nice.
here. Hi, my name is Reg Mason. I'm from Union, New Jersey, 908, and I do the thing, you know. Oh, hi, my name is Reg Mason. I'm from Union, New Jersey, 908. I play basically everything except keys. I suck at that, and the harmonica. And yeah, if you never knew, now you know. You can also find me everywhere on Reg K Mason, REGKMASON. Test Drive out now. We got vinyls coming up. We got shows coming up. And I'm also in a punk band called Good Teal where I play bass and sing. So if you
Tap the fuck in.
Yeah, exactly, tap
Tap
in.
in,
You're a
folks,
rager.
tap in.
If you never knew, now you know. Matt. Yo.
That was actually sick as fuck.
Are you watching, G? Come on, man.